I want to suggest to you 7 choices that you need to make in order to have a fantastic evening. A few years ago, Janet and I began to look at our evenings and try to make some better decisions about the way that we spent our evenings. We both work and we found ourselves getting home from work, collapsing, doing what just came naturally and easily without really enjoying our evening. We found that evening time could be filled up with a number of activities without us being refreshed and encouraged and really engaged in each other's life. So many times getting home from work, you're tired, you plop down in front of Amazon or Netflix, and you could spend the evening watching reruns of TV shows. But we're at a point in our life where we decided that we wanted to make better choices in our lives and in our evenings so that this part of our life would be the best that it could be. And so I want to suggest to you 7 choices that you too need to make. If you look at your evening and you think, we're not really using our evening wisely, it's not refreshing, it's not encouraging, it's not accomplishing anything. The first choice that I would suggest that you need to make revolved around the evenings is to evaluate your evening. Do you actually have the time in the evening in order to build into each other's life and to have that time of rest and enjoyment? I can see some people saying, we just don't have the time in the evening. We don't have the time to invest in each other and to make the evenings enjoyable. We have kids, we have jobs that take up the evenings. And I would suggest to you that if it's a priority in your life to evaluate that time that you have together, it may not always be the evening, depending on your schedule. You may pick some mornings that you're going to have that time to be refreshed and encouraged. But you have to make that commitment and set that time. You do need to prioritize time with your kids if you have small children, and having small children does take an incredible amount of time and an incredible amount of energy. But I would encourage you to think about the fact that you still need to set aside some time to build into each other's lives and to have that away time for your own relationship and for your own rest. You may not be able to have 3 or 4 hours in the evening, but you can carve out a half hour or an hour where you have that devoted time to kind of regroup and refresh for the next day. The other thing that I would challenge you is that if you're in a job where you think to yourself, I never have evenings, I never have time with my spouse, or never have time with my children, I would challenge you to think about that. If your life is going to be the best that it's yet to be, you need to look at that and ask the question, is this the way that I want to spend my life? Do I want to spend this much time of my day and my evening at work or being involved in work activities? And if you evaluate that and you decide that things are a little bit out of kilter, then you may need to make those hard choices to make some shifts in your career, in the amount of time that you spend at work, so that you have some of that time set aside in the evening in order to regroup and enjoy your life. Let me just stop for a second. A little commercial. Ask you if you would subscribe to the channel. It gives my channel more visibility and you'll be notified when a new video comes out. Thank you for doing that. And now back to the show. I think it's essential as we think about our evenings that we make a plan for our evenings. We can get home from work, we're tired, and we collapse on the couch. We have no plan, and so the evening ebbs by. And what I want to encourage you to do is to begin to plan out your evenings, to think strategically about the ways that you will spend your evenings to be refreshed, to be encouraged, to be enriched, and to grow. Once you evaluate and you decide that you're going to set aside some time in the evening, my suggestion is when you get home from work, you've got to make dinner, you've got to clean up dinner, all these things that typically happen on the front side of the evening. And something that Jan and I have started to do is we take about a 20 or 30 minute break. Sometimes we just need that downtime to lay down on the couch, maybe to take a 15-minute power nap, maybe to listen to some music, maybe just that little quiet time that you have where you're able to get into the Word or to think about something encouraging or positive, to kind of restart your evening and to refresh you a little bit as you get into the second part of the evening. Okay, so you've set aside the time in the evening. You've had a 20 or 30 minute break if you feel like that is needed. Let me lay out for you some other choices of activities that you could be involved in the evening. Again, we could fill up our evenings, but the question is, are we making those choices that are going to be reviving and encouraging and are going to be beneficial to you during that time that you have? So number 3, the choice that you can make make, and you might want to alternate some of these activities during the week and be involved in some on one night and then choose to be involved in other of these activities on a different night. But the first thing that I would suggest to you is to read together. It is so enjoyable at times for Janet and I to read together. We've read out loud, we listen to audible books, and so we will take 20 or 30 minutes some of the evenings, and we will just sit and we will listen to a book together, or we will separate and we will each listen to a book for a period of time. I've talked about the idea of feeding your soul and feeding your mind, how refreshing it is to be able to spend part of that evening on some of those days in the activity of reading. Another choice that you can make, this is number 4, is to exercise together or to exercise. It can be so refreshing to do some light walking, some light yoga, to do some kind of exercise together where you are engaging your mind and your body, and you may find this is a very refreshing thing to take 20 or 30 minutes in the evening, some of those nights, to engage in some kind of low impact exercise. Number 5 of the choices that I would encourage you to think about in your evenings is to play a game. This is also a way that you can connect with a friend or your spouse, if you have a spouse, is to pick those games that you really enjoy playing together, and some of those evenings that you would play those games. Jan and I played backgammon quite a bit. We play the memory game where you put down the cards and you try to match the cards up. There are a number of wonderful games that a couple could do or you could do with a friend that would be a source of engagement and would be a source of refreshment. The 6th choice that you can make in your evening is to set aside some of the time on some of those evenings to connect with family and friends. This is something that Janet and I have also done on some of the nights of the week. We will choose to call our sons. We've just begun to talk about the idea of writing letters to our grandchildren. What a wonderful idea Janet had. So we will spend some of our evenings, some nights, writing out letters to our grandchildren. We get so busy in life, we miss the opportunities to engage with our family and friends. And so you might decide some of the evenings of a week that you're going to call a friend that you haven't talked to in a while, that you're going to call a relative, somebody that you need to reconnect with, where you can encourage them and they can encourage you. And you will find that a source of great encouragement and joy. Well, the 7th choice that I would encourage you to make, and I've talked about this a number of times, is to be engaged in a class. There are classes probably in your community that you can take. Janet and I have taken a dance class last year, and as I shared, that now we have taken some videos from the great courses. And right now, some of our evenings, we're taking that time, 20 or 30 minutes, and we're watching the DVDs on the dance class, and it's been a lot of fun to relearn the waltz and to begin to practice that. Again, that's an activity, or you can pick any number of classes, any number of studies that the two of you would do together, that you would engage in, that you would be learning, and that's a source of refreshment, a lot more refreshing than watching and rewatching movies and TV shows that you've seen. Well, I want to ask you as we get down to the end of this session to give me the thumbs up, and also would you share this video with somebody? Maybe there's a friend of yours that you've talked to about the evenings and what are we going to do in the evenings, and to begin to have a plan. Would you share this video with them so they can also enjoy the content and be challenged? You know, our evenings are a significant part of our life, and the choices that you make about how you spend your evenings is going to potentially enrich and encourage you. Remember, we have to work at our life to make those choices so that this life that we live, this second part of our life, is the best that it could be.